Welcome, everyone, to our podcast, The Meaning of the Meaningless. And during this unprecedented time, hopefully you find our podcast helpful and you quench your thirst for philosophy. As always, have fun. So, today we're talking about evolution and the three topics that I would like to talk about. I'd like to start talking about the biological aspect, start with that, and talk about the pros and cons of natural selection and evolution, why the theory of evolution exists, and what are the pros and cons of it. Then we can go and talk about religion, because obviously the Abrahamic religions do not agree with the evolutionary theory. They believe that the man is separate from the animal. So we could talk about that, and at the end we could talk about the evolution of evolution. So basically, the concept of evolution has evolved over time. In the previous era, before Darwin, evolution was seen as completely different. Darwin came in and talked about survival and natural selection, and now psychologists are talking about pride and greed and ego, things like that constitute evolution. So those are the three things we could talk about, and we can go off topic too, but hopefully we can keep it to these platforms. And after we talk about these, we can go off and then go on to your own topics. So if anybody wants to start by listing off the pros and cons of the evolution theory, they can go ahead.
Okay, can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so like pros of evolution. So without evolution, we don't really understand our place in nature, and there is a tendency to think that humans are above nature or very separate from nature without the theory of evolution. And that can lead to some very disastrous consequences and actions. When you feel that you are separate from the world around you, you might end up destroying the world around you. And I think that's very apparent in today's day with the climate problems that we see.
Yeah, why does this sound scripted?
It's not.
I know it's not. I'm just saying, it just sounds scripted.
Maybe I'm just that great of an orator.
Interesting. So like I was thinking about like the concrete evidence, like the fossil records and like I don't know, like shared ancestors. Those are like the evidence.
Well, there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that proves the process of evolution. The places that are missing are the specific mechanisms by which species may have turned into other species, but the overall evidence to support that species become other species through the processes of mutation and selection. That's very overwhelming.
Also, the purpose or the meaning for evolution can be interpreted in different ways. That could be changed depending on who you are, because some people might think the sole purpose of evolution is to get to a higher being or get to a higher species, or creating a natural world full of intelligent species. But some people could think of it as just survival. So the meaning is a little off too, and science can't describe or explain that either.
Does anyone else want to say something? I feel like I'm saying stuff a lot, so I wanted to give everyone a chance to talk.
I mean, I'll just say that I agree with you in the sense why evolution is so important, how it's a scientific mode of inquiry, because it attempts to understand like the material conditions and the physical environment that we live in, right? So why different species evolve over time. And at the same time, it's scientific in the sense, I'm going to add, by one definition, right? How if something has to be scientific, if it can be disproven over time. So evolution, in the sense, can help us predict, for example, and helps explain why fossils are in specific places in sediment, or why do you see specific species at this point differing from other species. It's an explanation that delves deeper into the way in which various organisms evolve and explains them through the environmental, physical conditions of the world. But it isn't always accurate. Like there can be misreadings, or it doesn't tell us why a fossil is there. We have to find that for ourselves. But it's a very good predictor as to say where different species are and why they're there. It's like
That's
evolution.
archaeology.
That, like, for example, you wouldn't find human bones over 500 million years ago. It'll postulate that you'll find them maybe around 1 million or 2 million years ago, or sooner than that. So those types of things are intriguing for me.
But that's archaeology. That's not evolution.
Well, I think what Alan is trying to say is
It's the accuracy. Yeah.
It allows you to say, I predict in this layer of rock, I will find such and such fossils. And when you go and actually dig those fossils out, most of the time, that's what is actually there.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Also, not just fossils. This also allows to like give you more like in like just like other things, not just fossils. Like I don't know, like different types of evidences regarding like rocks and I mean I guess that's fossils too, but like in general, it basically gives you a predictor. Basically, like Alan said, like gives you something to rely on to predict what like a causal timeline, I guess one would say. Give us a timeline of how species came into this nature and what there was in the world, basically.
I mean, if you guys think about it, evolution in itself, it's a very abstract idea, and plus it's just a theory as well. There isn't really it's just, the things that do support evolution. It's just based upon observations and it's just mostly observations. There's nothing concrete that supports the idea. I don't know. I remember who was it? One of the people from our class did their TOK prescribed title on evolution, and they said this one line about it that described evolution, and to like even Mr. What's his name again?
Mr. Shankles.
Mr. Shankles. Even Mr. Shankles was like, that's a very fabulous line, and I wish I wrote it down because it would have been perfect for me to say right now, but it was something like it was something about like it being a very abstract idea and it's not concrete, and how some people it might be the rule. It's like it helps them understand everything. However, at the same time, you have to take it with a grain of salt because it might not be true. And
yeah, we're in the natural sciences here, right? So
well, one thing you guys say, you're calling it a very abstract idea, but it's been broken down into they've identified different things that help evolution
like
happen.
the cladograms or something.
There's different selection, there's mutation, there's the natural shuffling that happens during.
You guys mean macroevolution or microevolution?
Well, both.
We're talking about. Okay, well, I think when it comes to philosophy and religion denies the idea that humans come from evolution. So I guess in that case, let's talk about macroevolution.
Yeah. In our context.
Macro means big. Big picture stuff. Micro means
I don't really know what microevolution even is.
Would it be like the finches, like their beaks?
Our appendix useless now. That's microevolution.
Isn't that just evolution?
Yeah, but like microevolution is like very, very small adaptations to the environment, while macroevolution is like, a tadpole became a fish.
Well, I feel like nothing
anyways,
really
regardless of the terminology. Yeah, go ahead.
Wait, am I muted?
No.
Oh, okay. So I was just thinking like I think when somebody tries like through a religion sort of viewpoint to say like macro is very like an abstract thing. I feel like when we're talking about evolution, it only seems like a macro evolution because a ton of like micro evolutions have like kind of came before it. So then like it's very distinct. I guess. I feel like it's a bunch of little changes over time that once you look back, it looks like a huge change, but like you didn't see it. It's like aging, I guess. Like you don't see yourself aging, but like once you look back, you're like, oh dang, I looked a lot more different.
I think like one of the misconceptions of evolution. We talked about this in biology. Like it's not that they change or adapt. It's not that they adapt to the environment. It's just that they're taken out. Like the survival of the fittest. The people or the organism that has the fit genes, that have the fit physical traits, live, and those who don't do not. That gets into natural selection of how people who are able to live, or organisms that are able to live, are able to reproduce, and there are more reproductions, and then there are more of those organisms. So it's not really the adaptation, or the adaptation, or it's more so of just having the right traits, or so biology supports.
I'd also argue, and I completely agree with you, but I'd also argue that we can't also forget how after every, hundreds and hundreds of generations, how many different genetic mutations can occur, some of which do absolutely nothing, but some of which can cause major changes in an organism's genetic structure and thus how they behave or their specific traits, which could again be interpreted, through the lens of, the fittest will survive, whether they're in the case of the environment itself is changing, and whether the organisms that previously were able to reproduce quickly now find themselves outcompeted by ones that had, the mutations in other areas.
And I think Dylan brought this up. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just saying blue eye, that's a useless mutation.
But Dylan brought a good example of the finches, how their beaks and how they changed, or perhaps there more finches with larger beaks were found when there were more bigger bigger foods, and then when there were tiny foods, there were
small beaks was the worms and the large beaks was the seeds, I think.
Seeds, yeah. So that's a perfect example. I mean, it shows how environment and nature, or perhaps the natural genes, are somehow connected. And how this works, we have no idea, but nature somehow works itself to say, oh, the environment is this, and we give genes to this type of animal, or we give this type of genes to this type of animal, and it survives. I mean, how does this connect? We don't know, but we know that it does connect.
So, I'm just going to use our names because this is stupid. So Jay, I think you and Dylan, you're probably the most religious person out of all of us here. Do you believe that? I think so. And then, do you believe that someone can be religious and also subscribe to the theory of evolution at the same time?
I mean, yeah, I feel like it is possible, because at the same time, just because you believe in something or you might support something doesn't refute your religiousness, I guess. The thing about religions is that the reason why religions did not, like most religions, especially the Abrahamic religions, the main reason why they deny evolution is because it is said in the scriptures that humans were born as a perfect creature, and so in a sense, according to the scriptures, there is no need for evolution. Humans were just they have been there the way they are for millions of years. That's how they came to existence. They just did. And but in Islam, I don't know about Christianity, but in Islam or Judaism, but in Islam, I don't know that it talks about microevolution, about how the finches that have the smaller beaks died because they couldn't eat the seeds, or the finches that had the bigger beaks lived because they could eat the seed. It does talk about that, but there's no there's no mention about how in some National Geographic shows and stuff, it's humans at first, they all came from this one tiny little cell, and then this tiny little cell evolved into a multicellular creature, and then slowly that evolved into a fish, and then that fish evolved into a bunch of different creatures. Yeah, that's the part where it becomes too far-fetched to believe in for religious purposes.
But believing it's written in the scriptures is not far-fetched.
I said that's when it becomes too far-fetched for the religion. I didn't say when it becomes too far-fetched.
we're working with two ways of
you?
knowing
Okay.
here. We're working with the natural sciences and the faith, and so it becomes clear that we can't
Faith.
intersect them. And
So when you're saying the way of knowing of faith, does that
it's
just
faith,
mean?
yeah,
Does that mean my way of knowing is just having faith in what this specific book has told me?
yeah, yeah.
Basically,
Basically, yeah. I mean, people
that's what
justify their
faith is.
That's
actions.
it? Then is that really
People,
a way of knowing? I feel like that's not even a way of knowing then. If you're
bro,
talking about faith, then we
Okay,
have to like
think about this.
encapsulate it more.
Think about this. Faith is not just religion. Okay, what you know today is based upon what someone else found out a couple hundred years ago. That you have faith in that person's findings, and that's
faith in
why
science.
and that knowledge. The sciences, the roots of the sciences all come from the ideas of a single person. Just like religion, it all comes from the ideas of a single person.
So is
It
the
all,
type of faith in science and history and whatnot, is that the same type of faith as in religion?
Well,
well,
yep. Go
scientific
ahead.
faith. Who wants to talk? I'm sorry, I've
No,
been
go ahead,
talking.
bro. No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, what I just quick point. Like, you can't look at two ways of knowing it. Like, look at them through the same perspective. I think when you look at faith, you have to look at it. They have different methods, like reading the scripture or I don't know, reading the autobiographies or biographies of like people or something like that. I don't know. But the point is that the way of knowing is completely different. Science relies on a very empirical method of falsification and experimentation. But religion, it says that the ways of knowing are not just through that we can attain knowledge through introspection, meditation, or reading the scriptures, whatever it is.
Right.
So
What I feel like is that science is more like for the mind, and then religion is just for the soul.
I
And
like that.
faith is the way of knowing that brings you peace. One thing. So when I thought about this, I felt very atheist. But I was reading this book, and I don't know where it was, and I also talked about it to Vic, I think, before, and it was like how religion it just exists to like bring peace or insanity to people's mind, because the reason is we don't know what's after death, and we don't know what's before life, and in order to fill those gaps in religion. And when I thought of that, or when I read that, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds legit," I felt so atheist, and I felt so bad. But just because I may like say it may seem like an interesting idea to me, that doesn't mean that I'm renouncing my faith or in any way. It just sounds like an interesting idea to me. The reason why faith exists is so that it gives the soul some peace. And the reason why the sciences exist is so it can quench our endless curiosity.
So then how does the denying of evolution give us peace?
It makes us feel perfect, like
Well, I would argue that is not a good thing to feel. I don't think it's a good thing to feel that we are perfect. That's a very dangerous thing to feel. And in that case, then that's like a very bad part of religion, making us subscribe to something that is inherently not true and can lead to very destructive things.
Ashwin, you're thinking about this too rationally. Think about it
I'm not thinking about
two aspects.
of course.
You're looking
When
at
I
it like
say
you're
perfect, I
deducing
don't
things like
mean that.
one thing
Okay,
happens, one thing. So like you're looking at it as like, oh, well, religion gives people a meaning, but it doesn't do it in a very concrete manner.
No, I said
Versus,
for that one specific example, it does not do what you said. What he said. Well, I'm not arguing with what Jay said that certain aspects make us feel good. I'm not arguing whether that's good or bad. I'm just saying for this one specific example, it is a bad thing, not about all of religion.
okay, so even for this specific example, it's like you're looking at an example that could be argued either way. It could be argued that, well, religion is true and that evolution is just a theory, or it could be argued that it is a good theory or perhaps even a correct theory and that religion is false. But either way is you're kind of conflicting.
Well, we're talking about what's subscribing to the idea that human beings are perfect and separate from nature entails.
Okay. When I say human beings are perfect, I don't mean that they're separate from nature. What I mean is that, like in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Because we are created to be perfect beings, we are responsible for our actions because we understand what we're doing. Animals, they don't understand. They just live, they eat, they kill. They're basically, I wouldn't say that they're mindless creatures, but they have a routine set, you know? We have like choice, you know. We have the choice to raise
Oh
their.
boy! Oh no!
Oh,
no!
No. Continue, Jay.
If we want, we can nuke the world and call it a day. You know, animals don't have that choice. That's what I'm trying to say. We have knowledge. Animals, as far as we know, we are not knowledgeable enough to know whether or not animals also have the same knowledge as us. But even if they do, we're given the proper means in order to use that knowledge to our advantage. That is why we're like measly creatures. If you put a random naked human being in a cage with a lion, the human being's obviously gonna die because the lion has the natural tools to kill the human being. Human beings mimicked nature in order to get the tool. The reason why I can sit here and talk to you guys is because we're straying further and further from nature, but the reason why we are here today is because a human being saw a fang and he's like, oh, I'm gonna try, or saw a claw, the claw of the tiger, and I'm gonna try to make something that mimics that so I can defend myself. Because humans naturally don't have claws. We have these flimsy little nails. And in a sense, that is also evolution. We adapted. It's not natural. Is it not? Would it be natural selection? The smarter humans survive. The smarter humans survive. I think that's natural.
That is natural. Wait, do you just okay? What?
Wait,
Yeah, that's natural selection. The smarter human is more likely to survive.
I don't know what I'm saying.
So can I take one thing you said? You said humans are perfect because we can control our actions.
Yeah.
I want to hear what other people have to say about that.
Go on, other people. What do you guys have to say about that?
So I guess it kind of goes into like this weird topic where we start going into like whether humans really do have like freedom of will, and how much of humans' actions are based off of like instinct or something. Because a lot of people like say, oh, like there's some biological things that humans do, like there's some biological like things that make us like animals and stuff. But then there's also like people that are like, no, we're higher than that, and we should be able to make choices, like particularly when it comes to like treat like what's it called, altruism, and like just treating people like how you want to be treated in that sort of sense. There's always expected to be there's always a sort of a rule that humans are supposed to be higher than nature, or higher than like animalistic instincts. But then also there's also this idea that we are just a bunch of like very smart primates that have managed to just carry on life on like this. So then it just becomes like, I don't think we should, I don't know, I was thinking of it like a moral sense, but I feel like we're probably just taking it more from like an objective sense, so I'm just kind of lost right now.
I mean, the fact that humans can think they're perfect makes them imperfect in every manner, because no literally, and no perfect being would say they're perfect, because being
that's what I was
perfect.
gonna mention before. Yeah, that was one of the contentions. Yeah, keep going. That's one of the contentions.
So you said that. Wait, So you said the fact that we can say we're perfect means we're imperfect. Okay,
exactly.
I thought you said that the fact we can say we're perfect makes us perfect. I misheard you.
No, imperfect. Because no, not to confront Jay or something like that, but like just the fact that when you say that we are better than someone else clearly shows our ignorance. I mean, we don't know. I mean, if you were able to talk to a dog, and you were able to talk to him, the dog would never think that there's a better species than him. The dog realizes that its world is confined to its own cognition, just like the human realizes that its world is completely better than everyone else that he sees. Heck, there might be a god, there might be demigods that look down on us and say, "Ha, those people think that they're perfect or they're better, but we are better than them." And so again, we can't look at it as say that we are perfect, but definitely there's an inclination in humans to be perfect, which is not seen in animals.
Right. Can I also add that what you were honing in on is that was one of the contentions that I had, was that for us human beings, right? Human beings have idolized us as, humans, how intelligent we are, for almost as long as human beings have existed. You could argue since the start of, let's say, Athens and ancient Greece, remember how when they used to create those sculptures of the human body, right? Like the most beautiful things you'll ever see in your life, right? They used to romanticize about this. And for the entirety of human history, we've always held at the point of view, almost by default, that we are somehow superior in other ways to other species. But Safik is right, I think, to an extent that we're limited by our cognition and our awareness. I honestly think in the same way that we can look back on people 100 years ago and look back at them and say, wow, look how racist they are. That's really stupid. People are going to be looking back on us 200 years from now, historians, and they're going to label us as being ignorant, arrogant, stupid. They'll call us those same things. Or in a similar way, you could argue, for example, how we think we're the smartest. For example, when we talk about extraterrestrial life, because we don't see anything, the Fermi paradox. If alien life is so common, then why don't we see any of it? And so we haven't confronted that yet. It's just possible, and it's fully within the range that there are maybe alien civilizations out there, but they're so technologically advanced that either for one reason or another, they're either leaving us alone or they're too far away to communicate with us. So from that aspect, I think it would be a little bit arrogant to state that, we are as, perfect beings, because as Safik said, I don't think a being that was perfect would logically say that it is perfect, where our environment shapes who we are and we shape the environment. That's like the dialectic in a sense throughout the entirety of history.
Interesting. And so,
Jay, you looked like you were going to make your response.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that basically it's just like everyone's argument really makes sense, and I really have nothing to say to that. It's just that I have nothing to say to that. Humans, by like you guys said, humans are imperfect. Just because for the reason that they believe that they are perfect, that is their very imperfection as well. And then when Alan and Savik were talking, I was thinking about like how I don't know who it was. I think it was Dylan actually who said like, "Oh, we believe that we're above nature." I feel like that's not true. We aren't above nature, because the only reason we are above nature as of now, like the reason why we're at the top of the food chain is because of our intelligence, because of our technology, the application of our intelligence. We have the proper way to apply our intelligence in order to protect ourselves, and that's what I feel like gives us the responsibility to, for example, protect the environment or protect other animals, because these animals, we can kill them if we want to with our technology. They can kill us too, but it is harder. It would be harder for them because we have the means to protect ourselves with technology. They don't have that technology. They don't have that intelligence or that capacity to protect themselves. So thus, we are responsible for their protection. That's what I was trying to say when I said we are perfect beings. And plus, also, when I said when we are perfect beings, I also meant by in the sense that like the way our fingers are, like the way our bodies are shaped and such and so forth. That's what I meant. Like there was no need for us to evolve or adapt any further, unless there was like mental adaptations or something like that. But like in a physical sense, there are microevolutions, like for example, the appendix doesn't work. That's pretty useless. That's the second time I brought that up. But like, I don't feel like there were any, like, I don't feel like humans came from a monkey. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right. That's interesting. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Go ahead, Alan. Yeah.
What?
No, I didn't say that. I just said, yeah, that was interesting. I mean, I wouldn't argue that humans came from a monkey. That's the entire point of evolution, though, is to explain how over the course of millions of years, with regard to changing environments, and which species could, in a sense, I know this is like a very contentious term. I mean, adapt, but in the sense that over the course of millions of years, various mutations evolved in different animals. Ones who, over using those mutations, could survive better than others, and many millions of factors that we can't all take into account for, but generally speaking, led towards various species development, which eventually led to us. So I don't think it would be fair to say that a monkey led to us, but the billions and billions of different factors over the course of history have led to our development, which actually, just tying this in, reminds me of the Fermi paradox, which, as I stated earlier, if the chances of extraterrestrial life are so high, why can't we find any? One of the interesting theories that I've heard about is that the condition to create simple life is actually pretty common. Like, for example, you know how they talk about the icy moons around Jupiter, like Europa? It's all ice
Yeah.
and water, possibly living things under all that ice. Or we talk about, why does life have to be carbon-based? Couldn't it just also be silicon-based, using methane? Nothing says it can't. So probably simple life, the theory states, is common. Complex life like us is very rare, because think of all the steps that it had to go through in Earth's history to get to us. The dinosaurs had to be wiped out. Mammals had to evolve in specific certain ways until evolution favored a massive, brain in the way that we want, right? Because remember, whales have bigger brains than we do, but do they have the ability or the body structure to do the things that we can do? No. So all those millions of factors have to be taken into account that can lead to us. So that's like one of the theories that I find interesting, which states why it's so rare. It's so rare to get to our stage.
Exactly.
What if those are smart enough and they have their own society?
What?
So are we? You bring up an interesting point.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. Okay. We kind of concluded
I
that.
think we're cutting Dylan off too much. Dylan was gonna say something.
I was gonna add on, like, I think Jay was saying like how like intelligence was the reason why we sort of have reign over this dominion, or like intelligence in our technology was the reasons why we were able to get to the place that we are. But I feel like there's also biological factors. For example, like sweating. I feel like that helped us a lot, because when we were running after like prey, right? If you like keep running, like like a prey could easily outrun a human, but because humans can sweat, they have the persistence to keep going. So then that animal doesn't really they can't really sweat, so then they eventually start to slow down. Humans have that like natural stamina that keeps them going. So in a sense, I feel like it's not only the technology, but just it's sort of the biology behind humans as well, and just being like evolving from like quadrupedalism to like bipedalism. That also helps in trying to like adapt to your surroundings and use different technologies and to maximize the amount of things you can make in order to survive. So that was just something I thought. It wasn't just intelligence, I feel like. It's just also biology.
Before we go on to the next topic, I just wanted to mention that just a quick concept that many scientists argue that the concept of religion in itself has been a topic of evolution. That people evolved to understand religion. That people created a construct of religion to cope up with their behavioral mechanisms. So at some point, a human would not question its existence. It would just live and die. But as people started having a better cognition, as we started having whatever brain changes, bigger hippocampus or whatever, we started to kind of question. And so scientists argue that that's what gave us a way to look into religion. Although this is a very kind of I don't know, it's a very atheist perspective of how religion is just a construct. but it's definitely a concept that we could talk about how religion in itself could be a concept of evolution.
Well, I think Bill Maher had a really good quote about this. He said, if you destroy all the books of religion and all thoughts of religion, and you destroy all books and thoughts of science, in 1,000 years, all the scientific ideas will come back exactly the same, but the religious ideas will come back completely different.
I'm pretty
feel like
sure a
that's
lot of you
different.
would disagree with that. Jay or Alan?
Oh,
I disagree. Or agree, you mean?
Oh, or Dylan, yeah.
I'd probably disagree with that. In the sense, like, it's not going to be exactly the same, but I feel like if you destroy all the religious texts, there's going to be probably religions, but they're going to have, like, the same core, you know? I feel like a lot of them are going to have that same, like there's going to...
Oh, yeah, no, sorry, Dylan, continue. I didn't know you were...
Like, they're going to have that same, like, they're going to have that fundamental afterlife. They're going to have that fundamental... There's
right,
a
but
God, and you have to
there's a flood, there's Jesus, or
like the
water into
specific,
wine, like the specific stories that people believe in. Those will all be different.
well, I feel like you have to explain some things the same. Like, you have to explain why things are. Those creation stories might have
So those
similarities.
creation stories would be like, I mean, that's like saying literature is all the same because the overarching themes are similar. That's like being like what was the two plays we did? Tennessee Will. That's like saying Tennessee Williams and August Wilson wrote the same play because they have overarching themes of family.
But I have an argument against
No, but
that.
that's not.
Because
Well,
like, what about religion acquired not through texts or scriptures, but through meditation and through like internal states, internal
I thought we agreed that Buddhism wasn't really a religion.
Okay, not Buddhism. There's a similar concept to Hinduism too, but what about that? What about books? Books would be destroyed, but what about the concept of attainment through enlightenment, or not enlightenment, I guess, through just meditation? What about that?
Like, when you mean the Enlightenment, do you mean like the Enlightenment period in the 18th century?
No,
he means like
the enlightenment of the mind.
I'm like, Nirvana. Which Enlightenment?
Yeah, he means like Nirvana, like the band.
Because in reality, Buddhism completely annihilates God, and like it says that the mind, like you can attain nirvana not through the contemplation of God, but through the contemplation of your own self. So that was.
Well, I mean, like, okay, Ashvin, I was gonna like just kind of go back to that. I mean, like, those two books, like, yeah, they both or the plays, they both center around family, right? They have the same general structure, but they all choose to do it in a different way, and it's shaped by each of the playwright's sort of perspective. And I feel like that's what religion would do as well.
Yeah,
the religions, they would have like overarching themes, but they're just gonna like approach it in different ways developed by like how the different groups of people perceive the world.
Right, but science would come back exactly the same.
But you also have to take into account that religion may be affected by history, because as history goes on, there will be different things in existence, and there will be different things that no longer exist. You know, so for example, if religion were destroyed, and then climate change is like, as of right now, it's a very major thing, and climate change like changes the surface of the planet. Let's say the Sahara Desert starts getting bigger and expands across all of Europe or something. I don't know. And then people will start to say, "Oh, that is the God still minding the people that truly deserve to suffer," you know. And then there could be, and as the water levels rise, that could be the whole flooding story all over again. You know, there's going to be different things in history that affect the thoughts of human beings. However, as you said, science is going to be the exact same, because history does not affect science. Science is going to be the same no matter where you go, because it is numerical. It is not faith. It is numbers, digits. It can't be disproving, you know. You can, unless the number system changes, or unless the thought processes of human beings changes. Overall, the science is going to stay the same unless the way that we acquire that knowledge changes.
Also, religion is a way to like connect people, and so it could have survival like benefits too. Like people get together for religious purposes, have culture, have tradition that helps survival too. Yeah.
When do you want to move on?
I watched a video by Kurt Stigma, or Kurt, what was his name?
Horstic got.
Kurzgesagt?
Kurt
Let's
Stigma.
get
Kurzgesagt.
So it was about loneliness, and it was about like how like sometimes when you feel very lonely, you feel like this chest pain type of thing, or like you feel
always
some
remember, God is with you.
type of physical pain. So it was discussing about how the reason why you might feel that pain is because over time, for example, humans that hunted in groups have have more of a chance to survive because they have more manpower to hunt down a specific prey that might be bigger than them. While humans that hunted by themselves, lone wolves, they would have died off because they did not have enough manpower to kill their prey, and their prey killed them instead because it was too big. Um, so that, and the reason why we have that pain when we feel lonely is because it's because it's like over time we kind of natural selection. Over time, humans became more of a social creature, and thus we became more used to being around other human beings because we have that natural fear of dying when we're by ourselves.
There's a theory that depressed people will be extinct in another 200, 300 years. I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. I don't think that's
because it makes like behavioral change, right? People who are depressed are less likely to contribute.
Wait, so are you saying like Japan isn't going to be a country anymore because their suicide rates are off the charts?
Okay, when it comes to, I don't think depression is not just a behavioral thing. If you go down to the very like roots of it, it's just a chemical imbalance in the brain.
Okay.
So like, I don't know if that's gonna be solved because that might have. It's just like depression is like an error in the matrix. If you try to fix an error in the matrix, another bug might pop up. Something worse than depression is gonna pop up. Oh, instantaneous combustion. Let's go.
Jay says we're about to explode in like 100 years, like all humans combustible, man.
I mean, it reminds me of Fahrenheit 456.
Fahrenheit 456. Nice.
Whatever. It just reminds me of that. I don't know why books combust. Humans should combust too. Well, what's the next conversation topic, or are we like not done with this?
Wait, do you have to go or something?
No. I mean, yes.
If nobody has anything to say, we can go on to the next topic.
Yeah, I'm okay.
I'm okay as well.
Ashton, got anything to rant about?
Oh, we should. Well, I recommend all of you to go watch the South Park. Just go on YouTube and search up South Park Evolution. It's really funny.
Okay.
I'm good. To this day, I have yet to watch American comedy animations, and I want to keep that streak going. By American comedy animation, I mean like Family Guy or like American Dad.
Oh, is our next topic called. Western like, decadence?
I don't know. Those ones that you can on ABC.
Huh? I was thinking of talking about like instinct and free will. Like we started on it a little bit.
Determinism.
The Matrix all over again. Okay, we're all part of a simulation. God isn't real. What else did I mention?
Wait.
God isn't real. There's no purpose to life.
The concept is that animals have pure instincts and they act on those instincts. Human is able to deteriorate from those instincts and have a thought process. And that kind of gives us kind of a thought process of even having a religion. Because if we were truly impulsive and instinctive animals, and if the only way of living was religion, it would be a religious society. We would just act religious. But since we have a thought, or one would argue we have cognition, we're able to understand things. we can falsify something, and so we can always have a doubt. This skepticism, it's always in philosophy. Skepticism is always there because you can always doubt anything and everything you want.
So humans have no instinct, is what you're saying?
No, they do have instincts, but they do have free will too.
So is it possible for humans to fully detach themselves from their
Let Jay was saying something.
Oh, sorry, Jay.
That's fine, but what I feel like what Selvik was trying to say is that humans do have instincts, but what makes us different is that we have the ability to like reject our instincts. You know, like for example, a certain someone, like we all know that basically when you go down to like the very bare core of our instincts, we wanna concentrate and we wanna make
Yeah. I know that's in someone.
We want to make offspring to spread our genes, you know, Genghis Khan, and at the very that's the very core of our instincts. However, there are some people that stay single for their entire lives. That is us denying our instincts. So, like, yeah, we have instincts, but yeah, we also have the choice to deny those instincts. It's not like, oh, you gotta follow this, you know.
And then you end up sexually abusing the Catholic boys in your church.
What?
Okay,
Is that what it is? All these priests try to deny their instincts by staying celibate, and then boom, scandal.
Like those are priests. That's different. Those are priests. Priests are different. They're like a different category of human beings.
Isn't the whole point of staying celibate to try and deny your instincts?
There are some people that have to be priests and they try to be celibate, but they don't like go sexually abuse little kids.
Yeah, there's some priests that aren't like sexual predators.
Yeah, actually, not everyone is.
Every priest is a sexual predator.
I mean, I think Ashton's pointing out though, it's once you give a hierarchy, there are people who obviously will violate the rules of what's supposed to be done in that hierarchy. I think it's almost inevitable in almost any other position of power that isn't justified. I think that's like a broader critique of power. What Ashton's doing now.
Yeah.
What Alan said kind of just like reminded me of something. The thing that feels that like when you do something that like oh, I succeeded at doing my EE, you know, I succeeded at doing my EE, and you feel proud of yourself. But then you succeeded at doing your EE, and you turned it in 3 months late, and like it's 70,000 words over, and it's like, oh crap, you feel even better because you're not allowed to do that. And you're like, yeah, I feel badass. So when humans have this thing, we set rules, but we feel more pleasure when we break those rules than when we adhere to them. So that's what I feel like the reason why a lot of priests may do that, or not a lot, like priests may do that is because they don't feel the pleasure. Maybe they don't feel the pleasure of the sexual abuse, but they feel the pleasure of breaking the rules. That's the thing. I feel like rule breaking is where like the highest form of pleasure is.
It gives them more power.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives us a sense of power and entitlement and like that sense of superiority.
Wow, so humans are just evil.
Nah, but you see, talk about a very small population.
If you were just people, then why were
morally sensitive and we are able to take good care of each other. We are altruistic beings, and I will prove this one day.
Oh yeah, of course. In your book,
definitely.
In your PhD thesis.
I feel like humans have the they have one of the. Wait, is there echo?
I think next time we do this, everyone should wear headphones because I think there's an echo from when it's coming out of you guys' speakers.
Oh wait, if I plug this one, I want to know.
All right, last
Can you guys
topic I
hear me?
have.
Yeah, I can hear you okay, Alan.
All right.
Last topic I have is if there is a behavioral evolution, what would a greater human look like? What would someone with so is there someone higher than human, a contemporary human, and how would their behavior look like compared to ours?
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. This is my gaming headset. Let's go.
I think the problem would be is that we in our current form have our own biases of what we think that a greater human would look like or whatever creature of higher intelligence. So I would say that whatever we would anyway say would come with a high degree of ignorance in and of itself. So I don't think we would be able to pinpoint down exactly what properties they would have, like what would constitute them being so much better, like in what ways, intelligence wise. Well, if they were so smart, then what would they then do to themselves? People are talking about genetic engineering. We talk about nowadays, how people can, do different sorts of implants, and how maybe in 100 years they'll have genetically modified babies. Well, imagine 300 years from now, people, I don't know, and to what degrees, the societies of the future will deem it ethical for us to alter our chemistry of our body to, I'm taking this to the extreme, but for example, have wings, have webbed toes and feet, whatever. We don't know what types of technologies will be available. It brings me back to, for example, Bioshock, if you guys have ever played the game, where you can inject plasmids into your body that change your genetic structure to have different abilities like shooting lightning or shooting fire or whatever. So I think that us trying to figure out whether I think we can maybe get some general ideas, but I think we should be cautious about how specific we can argue what types of beings would be that much smarter than us. It's almost like having it's like being at a smaller level of knowledge. Like for example, if you're an ancient Athenian trying to predict how society would turn out now, what elements he would believe society would be created up of, whether the economic system, the social system, hierarchical structures. You predict to be pretty far off. So in that sense, I think we have to be cautious, like generally speaking.
We have a general predictor of what society will look like as AI and computers are becoming more predominant. We have a general idea that humans will become more efficient, but at the same time more lazy, and rely on technology as their prime.
I would actually contend that they would become more lazy. I don't think people would be more lazy. I think that in many cases, the laziness that people talk about, like, oh, you're so lazy, you just like watch TV all day long or whatever. Many people, let's say, like, when you have a worker in a factory who works there for 30 years and he's out of a job, he's not going to be like, oh, yay, nice. Like, even if he had like a nice income to go off of, people genuinely gain. It's scientifically, it's been shown that people gain. Like they're happy when they work. They genuinely earn things. People want to work and do things, like use their mind creatively to create something. Yeah, it's over the past 50 years. I'd argue a lot of society has been engineered and advertised, whether advertisements or whatever, to say that people are intrinsically lazy. I think that if the transition from now to AI, right, where AI takes the majority of jobs, that people will now have the free time to be able to explore whatever they creatively want to. Wait, can you hear me? Sorry.
But at some point there'll be a threshold which they will pass, and they will have absolutely nothing to explore, absolutely no scientific discovery.
No, I
doubt that.
disagree.
No, I doubt that.
There is a book about that, and I read it. And dude, let me tell you that a world where there's nothing else left to do is incredibly boring. So let me see.
No.
Wait, what was the book?
What's the book?
Let me.
Wait, was it the man at the end of the universe creates his own universe or something like that? No. Sorry.
Was it?
I'm looking for the. It was in the library, and after I read it, I just got like.
Wait, was it like an AI government, and then there's like these people whose jobs it is? Oh, okay.
No.
Well, I feel like if humans still keep going, they're not gonna. I mean, even if humans have nothing else to do, that's gonna be extremely, extremely far in the future. Like we're just getting like AI now. It's not gonna like. I don't think they're gonna. I agree with Alan where it's not gonna take away all of the humans' jobs. Humans are gonna have like find something to do. Humans don't like doing anything. We
There's
know
always
that
one thing to do when you're bored.
Yeah, I mean we know that from COVID-19.
Yeah, I mean,
People don't like not doing anything.
I think we also have to think about in terms of this, right? So when we look at society 100 years ago, and we think, wow, they thought that was an industrial revolution and the technology they had then. Look at us now. So for me, almost like a predictor thinking 110 years in the future. But to go back to what you guys said about like being bored, like remember, think about, let's say, for example, this is just one thing on top of my head, like, being bored, like, is this the
Okay, I
limit to
found
what
the
we
book.
can do? Oh, you found it? Yeah.
So
The name of the book is All Are Wrong Todays, and it's by Ellen Mastai or something.
What is it called again?
And basically, All Are Wrong Todays.
wait, hour or R?
Oh, our OUR. And basically, it's about this guy who creates a bunch of different branching timelines because he wants to repeat this one moment. But it's very interesting. The ending is very interesting as well. But like the beginning is where it was like talking about
Right.
how they live in a society where like there's nothing left to do. Everything is perfect. Everything is energy is no longer an issue. World hunger is no longer an issue. Overpopulation isn't an issue, and there's literally nothing left to do. And the dad in the book. The dad is trying. The one thing that is left to do, however, is time travel. That was the last thing, and the dad of the main character is trying to crack the puzzle of how to time travel. He even cracked teleportation, and he's like, all I have to do is add another dimension to time travel.
I
Because-
sense Alan's tingly senses coming into.
Yeah. Back to the Future. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but basically it's about like how the kid time travels and how he messes up the timeline, and he creates a bunch of them, and like they all collide, and like it's very interesting.
Can I put forward a question for you guys? So I want to ask you personally, and then we'll go like all around. I want to hear everybody's responses to this. Similar to like the AI, what do you guys think? Society is going to look like, let's say 100 years from now, not too far in the future, but what do you think is going to change?
Okay, so like the one thing that I think that is probably going to happen, probably not in our lifetimes. I feel like America's just gonna turn like full out fascist. I don't know. I just feel it.
Hey, you got a lefty here.
Okay.
Like I'm a fellow lefty, but I feel
I'm
like I
worried
just
about
feel
that,
super. Yeah, like
Got it.
America's just
I'm real
gonna go
worried about that, man.
Remind it again. What is leftist again?
Bernie.
No, not me. We're past
He's
Bernie.
both-
Bernie's
Yeah,
center left.
I'm slightly.
We're more.
We're talking about communism and like
Socialism.
Mao Zedong. Yeah.
Like more of anarcho.
Anarcho-syndicalism.
Anarcho-syndicalism.
Hey, have you read Chomsky?
These
I
terms?
have not read Chomsky, but like
Dude,
it's been very.
Chomsky, man, they're anarcho-syndicalists. My guy, like one of my intellectual idols. I'm just not
Can I just be
loving
honest?
it.
Chomsky sounds like the name of the character from Cut the Rope.
No.
Yeah, that game with like the candy and the rope. Like, yeah, that's Chomsky. Chomsky, yeah.
I think in the next 100 years, I think what's going to happen is, as now when people start seeing the effects of climate change and how it disproportionately starts affecting poor people, because I think we can all agree, like, I don't think we're going to be able to stop climate change. So I'm pretty sure in the next 100 years, we're going to see a lot of coastal cities get flooded, trillions of dollars of coastal real estate be gone. And when people start seeing that, they might be more open to a more socialist and a bigger role in government. And I think
When they start seeing more brown people.
Hey guys, remember when Karl Marx said more government is socialist, and when the government takes over everything, it's communist here?
Yeah,
Karl
well, I'm
Marx
not
really
disagreeing with Karl Marx.
No. I'm just because that's like, but just sorry. I want to say, I'll say this. I'm with Dylan on this. I think that apart from not just that people will gain motivation, I think that, you know, when you talk about like, oh, people sitting at a computer, like at a cubicle, not knowing what to do, I think that's one of the reasons why Dylan, I think, was rightfully worried about like politically America's future, because I think many people nowadays are super alienated from, especially from like the labor that they do at their work. Like they're so removed from the exactly. Dylan's like, yeah, they're so removed from their labor, and so as a result, like as like other factors, you know, climate change and
Antisocial,
the
personal,
transition to
personal.
those, yeah. But I think what's interesting, and this is the one thing I think that we all have to agree upon, regardless of like political ideology or whatever, is that if AI takes over, let's say, the majority of jobs, which is a big prospect in the next 20, 30 years, right? Capitalism works, right? From going to a job, working, and then the CEOs, capitalist firms produce products. If the workers are fully commodified and AI takes over their job, it doesn't even have to be the whole population. If let's say 20 or 30% of the population is out of a job because workers can perform their work faster, better, and cheaper, then nobody can buy the products that the capitalist is producing. Thus, the system breaks down. I think we're going to have a massive economic transformation over the next 50 years. Like, just, it's going to happen if AI takes them over.
All right, I think that's good enough for today. We can talk about the political system and
Hey,
perhaps even.
What my thing was.
Okay, go ahead. My bad.
So what you said about like being bored and lacking motivation sounds very legit to me. Because, however, it doesn't mean that there will be no I feel like if we are bored and we have nothing to do, there will be more progress, because the reason why humans have computers and laptops and stuff is because some random dude was really bored one day and he's like, oh, let me try to make this, you know. So it might lead to more innovation, you know, and it might hasten the process of creating better AI. But general labor might be wiped out, but I feel like there will be more specialized jobs, because AI cannot replace the human curiosity. AI can't. I mean, at some point maybe it will, but it's not gonna. It's at its first primitive steps. The only things AI will be able to accomplish is general labor, and then that'll lead humanity to more specified jobs that not everyone can do. You know, and I feel like it'll just lead to more innovation, and then we'll take more like broad steps for wider steps forward in terms of technology, or for example space travel. We might be able to space travel because everything on Earth is handled. But overall, I don't feel like we will stagnate when it comes to like technology and innovation anytime soon. I just feel like we'll keep moving, and maybe Wall-E will come true one day.
This all is possible unless there's a huge or oppressive dictator that comes in. And
we don't even need a
there.
major oppressive dictator.
I just pray that Wall-E doesn't come. Holy crap! I legit got scared when I watched that movie. I'm like, dude, that's where we're gonna end up.
You guys
Like,
have
I don't wanna
to.
be
You
a part
have
of
to.
that.
You have to accept it now. We're gonna lose the climate change. No, just accept. I'm not even joking. Like I'm not
Like
even
climate
joking.
grief instead of climate
Dude,
denial.
It's
the guy
literally
at the end
climate
of the
change.
movie thought we grow pizzas. Imagine that.
Hey,
what?
We grow pizzas. The guy at the end of the movie, he's like, "Oh, do you guys grow this?"
Oh no! Just
Yeah.
enjoy the days you have left, because soon it's not going to be like this.
I mean,
yeah.
But we
There's
won't be
like this
there.
one
We
quote
witnessed
that's
it.
like,
Unless we
you love
intelligent
the
thing.
like you should cherish the good days, or like humans only cherish the good days when they know that they have them. We don't know that we're living in the good old days until it's all gone.
This is the good. We have no future.
This
We
is the
have
good
no
old
future
days.
collectively as a generation. We have no future. It's
that's
all
true.
over.
I agree with that. I agree.
I
This is-
think our
we're doomers.
grandkids
Yes,
really
we're
have no
doomers now,
future.
officially, all right, we're the doomers.
If you have grandkids, that is ethically wrong. It is ethically, morally wrong to
Yeah,
have
yeah, I
kids.
actually agree.
It's so bad,
Guys,
but
I
they
just
should
wanna
never be
point
born
out-
in the first place.
I also want to point out there's a legitimate reason for us to be called Zoomers now.
Why?
Okay,
Accelerationism.
that's a good way to end this
Zoom,
discussion. I think it's We had a very good discussion today. I think we can definitely go on to. Does anybody else want to take a discussion for next time?
No, I suck at coming up with ideas.
I can take one.
Oh yeah, Ashwin, you can find one, and then you can probably come up with subtopics.
Oh,
And,
can I find
we'll
one as
meet
well?
this Thursday.
Yeah, Alan. I
Alan,
know
you can do
Alan
Tuesday.
definitely has some.
Wait, what can I do? What'd you say?
You can do next Tuesday.
All right, I'll do next Tuesday then.
All
I think,
right.
wait,